beings as well. I don't know how to, the vocabulary that I use is our vibrations. You know, they pick up on our vibrations. Vibrations are negative, that's how they'll react to you. If your vibrations are good and well-intentioned, then they pick up on that. So I don't know how the physics works, but they do. People pick up on it.
Talking about,
Go ahead, Amanda.
talking about animals and humans. So when we are in stress or anxiety, there's a different type of smell which we can't smell, but the animals do. So when you are very scared of them or afraid of them or in a stress or anything which is on the low vibration, your sweat will smell in a different way, and they smell it because their senses are very much
Attuned.
better, yeah, attuned and better than ours. That like we can't hear smell ourselves, but they can. And the same happens with humans. When we are in a low vibration, we radiate a different type of energy, and someone who is very sensitive, energy sensitive person, they will catch your energy and then they will react in the same way because the energy there's a very beautiful video, I forgot the name. It says it's something about the quantum physics, and it shows how the atom reacts when somebody is looking at it and when somebody is not looking at it. So they behave and they react in a very different way. When the atoms know that there are some cameras placed or a human being placed with them, it's a very beautiful experiment. I'll try to find out the link next time and share it with you guys.
Well,
So
Coach
yes.
Kumar, what you're talking about is quantum mechanics, and that what you can't know is the principle of uncertainty. You can't know what a particle is unless you observe it. But then you don't know what direction it's going in. You don't know the momentum, and if you can tell the momentum, you don't know exactly where it is. So we do by actually observing change what we're
Yeah.
observing.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's what something which I was trying to say. So in that video, what they shared was that they were firing some particles and atoms through a pipe, and it was going in a very straight line. And when people moved out of that room and then they captured it, it was going randomly wherever it wanted to go.
Yeah.
So it made a very huge difference just by the energy. Nobody was guiding it, nobody was playing it with any remote or something,
Yes.
but just because of the energy in the room, it changed.
Yes.
And the same happens with there's a research done by Institute of Neotic Sciences, wherein there was a very ill lady and her vitals were going down. And then what was asked, and it's giving me goosebumps right now. Uh, Her husband was asked to sit in a different room and just look at her a couple of pictures which were before her illness, and just to send her all his love energy.
Wow.
And he was also being monitored with all those machineries like his BP and pulse and everything. In the session, about 40 to 45 minutes, her vitals were identical to her husband's, and these things were happening in two complete different rooms.
Yes. I believe this very strongly. I don't know exactly how it works, but I do believe that happens.
When we transmit the energy, it's same as our Reiki, Jim. That we sit here in our rooms and I can send the Reiki to you, and you are on the other side of the world.
I
The
agree.
same with you. You can send it to Kim or maybe to Ankit. So it's
Yes.
our intention and energy which travels, and it travels really fast, and it can go to any corner of the universe.
That's why
So
we're connected. We're always connected.
yes, all the human being and everything which is living or not living are connected energetically. It's just that how you tune yourself with it. So now I talk to my water, I talk to the spoon. Even if it falls down by mistake, I say I'm so sorry,
Me
and
too.
then I pick it and put it on the table. So when you start speaking, and then on times it happens that even before the spoon is about to fall, you will get that hint in your body somewhere that it's going to fall, and you will just catch it before it falls.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And in my life, I have observed this. So I know it to be true. I lack the vocabulary to express it as beautifully as you did.
I understand, and I completely get
She's
it.
trained. Yeah, that's it. But Jim, you're training too, or you have trained in this area of spiritual healing and effort. So
Yes, but I'm
you
not on the Coach Kumar's level, but I have. I found this to be very important in my
Coach
life.
Kumar. I like that, Coach Kumar. We lost Sasha. I hope he comes back.
Well, he's got his own show he's got to prepare for, I think.
Yeah, well, and it's a big show today.
That's
So
right. It's a
and
birthday show.
it's a birthday, yeah, and but and as you know, Jim, there's a lot of work that goes into preparing a show. So and making sure it launches right. And I don't, there's a lot going on, but let's get back to the subject of spiritual healing and some of the things that we can be doing. I've always found it interesting how candles are such a big emphasis of spiritual healing and how we use them in religions, how we use them in any of the spiritual practices and disciplines. I you know
So true. My
I
grandmother taught me to light candles and say a prayer. And
always
yeah.
maybe
And
it's a symbolism of light. I don't know. Some candles smell good. I actually have a weirdness that goes on. Whenever I'm celebrating someone who's passed away's birthday, I light a candle, and or if we're having a funeral, I'll light a candle, and Christmas. And oddly, on those special days, tea light candles shouldn't burn more than an hour or two, right? But my tea light candles will burn like 12 hours.
really,
Yeah, and my nieces, they love they get all excited about it. Like they think there's something super super spiritual going on because it's not, we don't relight it, just stays lit for 12 hours. And on any other given day, those candles will not burn that long. It's the same candles. They keep asking me, are you burning a different? And so I did this the other day with my mom's birthday, and it's really weird because like I would light it in the morning, and you would think, an hour or two, and it was still burning at midnight. So,
so it's burning something besides the wick.
Okay, so Kim,
so
I'll tell you one of our rituals in India. So we pray on Diwali day. It's a Diwali puja for everyone, and then we light a diya. The diya which is on the background right now. I'll just show you the diya. I have a picture of diya as well. It's running in the background.
it's very beautiful.
So we light that diya, and then we put some kind of metal on that whole night, and to make sure that the diya will light till in the morning, and then it creates a lot of. So Anandi, what do you say that it looks for some kind of a kajal or
Kajal.
something which happens
Herbal
with the diya?
Kajal. Yeah, true. So when we were kids, we did not have these fancy kajals, and in India, there's a ritual that every newborn they have to put the black kajal and a black tika on their forehead somewhere here to protect them from
What do you
evil.
call kajal in English? So kajal is what I mean because Kim, I'm not sure whether Kim knows about
Okay.
kajal.
Okay.
That's right. I'm listening.
It's called eyeliners. Maybe I'm not very sure. We put it in the eyes, the black this
The
thing.
black marking. Yeah.
Yeah. So we put it to the child, and especially when the baby is newborn, we make it at home. We do not use the market ones or the chemical ones. So we light these type of diyas with mustard oil, and then we'll burn that metal thing. And mostly it's of silver. So the metal we call it I don't exactly remember the name in Hindi of that, but it's sort of a eye shaped, but with a stick behind it to hold it, and it's made of silver. So to give the benefits of silver, because silver is a cold metal, like the nature of it's cold in temperature. So to give soothing effect to the eyes and to protect the kid from the evil as well.
Wow. And this is done. I always found this is interesting. This is twice we've talked about this recently about the mustard. So there's, we have a religious belief about the mustard seed. So there's got to be something magnificent in mustard because we talk about this quite often now. But you burn the mustard with this silver and oil, and then you make the black that's used.
Yeah.
Probably where that we get our black for our makeup anyway. So we just make it at home. I need to get that recipe, then I don't have to buy it. So,
it's very easy. You can make it on a steel spoon as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So let me ask you: is the mustard? Is it just like any kind of mustard?
Mustard oil, any type of mustard oil.
Okay. Wow. I don't.
Did you know there's a museum of mustard? There's a museum of mustard, a mustard museum in Madison, Wisconsin.
Well, of course, Madison.
So do they have any mustard, or is just the name of a museum?
It's the museum is all sorts of things, mustard seeds.
So the baby looks like this.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay.
Can you see the black spot on the forehead?
Yeah, the black
No,
spot.
on the forehead as well.
And
On the forehead as well.
the black
Yeah,
spot
yeah,
and the dark eyes.
Oh my goodness, that is so cute. I shouldn't say cute, but it's true. I mean, the eyes are just magnificent, and also the dot on the forehead.
Right.
Is that for something else or the same thing?
It's for the same thing, to protect from the evil and black magic and stuff.
Right.
That's
You won't
interesting.
believe, Jim. You won't believe. So whenever we go out, maybe for some examination or something, or maybe to conquer something, we used to have a yogurt with sugar.
Uh-huh.
With sugar?
And maybe one basil leaf as well.
Yeah. Basil
Wow.
for everything.
And
Yeah.
sugar.
That's awesome.
I broke down and ate a little bit of candy the other day. It was my niece's birthday.
Oh.
And but what I found interesting was that they have a birthday cake for her that's made from this lady who makes homemade cakes. And it doesn't have that nasty sweet icing on it. The icing's like whipping cream. It is so fabulous and tasty, but it's not like really sweet. And I ate it. And it has, but her cakes have fresh mangoes and pineapples in them too. She's from Puerto Rico, and so they make their things a little different than we do. A lot of fruit stuff goes into their food, but I thought that was fabulous. But all the sweet things and get sugar, huh? This holiday.
Bad.
You're gonna have to share a little bit more. What is this holiday all about?
The processed sugars that we consume are different than the sugars that are in the mangoes. Yeah.
So maybe natural sugar is good enough. We can have a natural sugar in absence of, or maybe we can avoid processed sugar basically.
You know what?
And then we.
Go ahead.
Yes,
So
I think there's
I
some.
got disconnected.
That's okay. It happens to me in Silicon Valley.
It happens to me. So, Ankit, you were sharing?
So what I was saying is that I mean, we should avoid processed sugar, but some food or something if we cook that requires sugar. If you don't put sugar, it's not possible.
Right.
I mean, you can't have it basically. So it all depends how much quantity and what kind of recipe you have, or maybe how much you can avoid basically. That could be something, because you can have a can of Coke that have more sugar, and whatever you cook for maybe a week or maybe a month.
Yes.
So it all depends. I mean, how you balance your sugar diet. But deficiency of sugar is always harmful as well. So maybe balance is something which is good. But on the other hand, I'll tell you one more interesting thing. We have in India called kheer, which is a boiled milk, and then we put a boiled rice as well. And
Rice pudding. I know the English of this one.
Yeah.
You make it like a pudding.
But Anandmai, our rice pudding is less rice and more milk, and they have a different risotto kind of a rice.
Yeah, that I understand. But yeah, we overall it's called the rice pudding, but there are variations of it. In
Sure.
fact, in
Yeah.
India also we have different varieties of kheer.
So maybe so Anandmai. Quick question: would you like rice pudding or would you like kheer?
Both. I have three foods.
Good answer.
And
Good,
Jim,
good.
why I mentioned this because whenever we cook rice pudding or maybe a kheer, so there are a couple of rituals with that. In one of them, we make that kheer and then we put it outside the home so that there is moonlight, and then the moonlight will give some blessings, and then we'll have it.
Oh,
Now,
And then on the other hand, and on the other hand, on those kheer or rice pudding, we put a lot of saffron.
saffron. You were talking
Saffron
about
spices.
saffron yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday, yeah. So that is also part of our ritual. Basically, whenever we are doing some kind of festival of prayer, we make sure that we have kheer available, and that covers the sweet part. And then we have to create a lot of spicy dishes as well, and all those things to make a balance out of it.
I
right.
understand. Great.
No, I think
Ankit, the spiritual reason behind why we put the kheer outside in the moonlight on a full moon day, because the moon controls, the sun is for the body and the moon is for our mood. And when
Okay.
you consume that, which is kept in the light, like the moonlight, like for a period of 7 to 8 hours, the food is blessed with all the qualities which will keep your mood calm. That's why every month when there is a full moon, people have ritual to put all these food outside in the moonlight and then have it. Especially we do it in the Sharat Purnima, which is the winter. Yeah, we do it in the Sharat Purnima, which is the winter full moon. We usually do not do it on Guru Purnima, which is tomorrow. We make kheer, we offer it to our mentor, our gurus, and our teachers, and then we have it. Sharat Purnima, we have to put it because the temperature is okay. There will be no chemical reaction in the food, and it will absorb all the goodness of moon and the benefits of it. And then when you consume it, it's gonna get into your body. So before 5 days and after 5 days of a full moon or of an eclipse, there are various type of like disbalances which we figure out, and either you will be on the spectrum, either you will be on the lowest vibration or you will be on the highest vibration. But people
Yeah.
like us who are always into meditation and spiritual practice, they are more balanced. Otherwise, generally, I was watching this series from US only. It's 911, and they have entire episode on full moon day, and they said that
oh,
on full moon people get crazy, and they showed a lot of things that crazy people were doing crazy things and stuff, because actually the moon affects your mood very very badly.
We
Like
even
in
have
And
the
now, and,
yeah.
and now, Anandimai, we have a question from our viewers, especially one of my friends from Jaipur, Abhishek Agarwal, is watching us right now. And the question is, tomorrow is Guru Purnima, so all our viewers would like to create kheer for you because you are a mentor.
Yes, you are. And
okay.
we do many, many
Thank
things
you
here.
so much.
I do want to elaborate on the full moon effect because Zach and I were talking about this yesterday because he's been going out and about and we've still got the protests going on. I go, Zach, my tensions are very high right now. Please be very careful. I'm sensing something very dangerous. And he goes, and I forgot that the full moon was here, right? And here's Kim. No wonder your senses are high. The full moon's tomorrow. And I'm like, oh God, Zach, really be careful. Because, yeah, so we have a rule in our country that they have to staff up on the eve in the ER room on the eve of the full moon. We have more shootings, more stabbings, more fights on the nights of full moons than any other nights of the world. But do you know what else happens on the night of the full moon? Births. For whatever reasons, women who are near term always deliver on full moon. So
it's a tidal thing.
it is something strange about the moon. My mom had a full relationship with the moon. We have a little thing that we have always said between each other. She told me no matter where she was, because she's right. No matter where you are in the world, the moon always looks the same that day, right? And she would always tell me to get my kisses from the moon. That she'd been sending kisses up there, and that when she died, it was one of our few last conversations. Was to don't forget to get my kisses from the moon. She also had a ritual every full moon, and so every full moon we would have to go out on midnight. At midnight, in the full moon, dressed a certain way. We're not witches, but that we would get together with our bags. We have bags, and she had a chant, and we would have to do a chant together in the full moon, and good things would come when we did this. It was amazing, and it's really weird because if you forget to do it and nothing good happened that month, you go, I forgot to do my full moon chant, So no matter where I was in the world, even if it was dangerous, I would always grab my bag at midnight, run down to the lobby, outside the lobby. I would grab a security guard to go with me.
Good for you.
I've been known to do this. I need you to come outside with me, and I would go find the moon, and I would do my chant because I wanted something good, and I still do it. I'll be there tonight.
And if you were a witch, I would not think less of you, because this goes back centuries and cross cultures. This is something. For example, the full moon, we have this mythology around the werewolf, because the werewolf comes out only at the full moon, and it's talking about. And these are cross cultures, cross country, cross boundaries, all sorts of borders, and they still fear. There's a fear associated with the full moon because people's blood rises or they turn into monsters.
Animals. So if you think about the story, sometimes we overemphasize in our tales to get the message out, right? To make the story a little more effective. But the full moon brings out the animal in some people that might be infected with a mental disease. But the full moon does activate, like Anandmai was saying, that it can affect this. And I think that's where some of those stories came from. Do I believe in the werewolf? I actually do. Have I seen one? There's a wolf that lives out here somewhere, but does he come out at the full moon? I hear him howling at the full moon. So I'm going to try to catch him tonight. Not catch, but I'm going to see if I can capture him howling. And he might not be around tonight because the fireworks will be going off, and they have a tendency of not. Animals don't like the fireworks. They actually burrow themselves deeper.
Yeah.
We have a thunder vest that we put on our
this full moon tomorrow, I will invite all our viewers to put their intentions that what exactly they want in their lives, because the full moon multiplies and it magnifies your intention, good or bad. So that's why we hear, Ankit, in India as well, that a lot of black magic people also pray either on full moon or no moon day, like the Amavasya day.
Yep.
Because it is this is a time when even if you think a tiniest thought in your head, it's gonna be magnified and multiplied because the energy is so high. Like 5 days, it starts 5 days prior to the full moon and it ends after 5 days of the full moon. So to all our viewers, make your hand like this if you can see it.
Yes.
Like this, a pyramid thing. And if you can sit in Padmasana, like with your legs folded, in India, people will understand that how to sit in Padmasana.
Yes.
Keep your hand like this and just think for like 5-10 minutes about what exactly do you want to manifest in your life. And then you will see how the resources are falling into the places. Like you have to do the work. It's not that you just have to write your intentions and then forget about it. You have to work towards it, but it will, that's the way. Yeah, the palm should be like this, fingers on yeah.
There you go.
I think what we need to do is
have you ever done this before?
No, we should keep it straight so that people can watch you from that hole in between.
Have you ever done this before, Ankit? Do you do
I
this?
have done Padmasana, but this thing I have never done, but I have done Padmasana.
Okay.
Yeah. So have I. Yeah.
So you
And
just
I've
for
challenged,
people who needs to understand it, one hand, put the other hand beneath it, and just join your thumb, so it becomes like a pyramid, like a triangle.
Got it.
Got it.
All
And
right.
also,
This for a
wait,
few minutes and just put your intentions, and you will see how the resources starts falling into the place. Um, because the energy, and this is one of the posture I'm forgetting the name, or either it's from Egypt, or this posture is from it is in our Indian yoga form as well, and this is a mudra which is called as the power mudra or the healing mudra. It magnifies anything, whatever you think,
Right.
it magnifies it. So the
when you
power
think
of
of the pyramid,
this mudra,
this is
uh,
the shape of a pyramid as well.
yes. So
Yeah.
that's the beauty, and good that you brought this, Jim. Any of the religious structure you see across the globe, if it's a temple, a mosque, a church, or anything, any spiritual building or any religious building, it will always form a triangle. Always, no matter it's a dome or it's just a building. But when you see the structure, it will always become a triangle when you draw the lines.
Yes.
Well, look at the pyramids. I mean,
Yes,
the pyramids were very spiritual because they were the tombs, right? And they're definitely a triangle, right? So there's definitely something behind the pyramid and
and
triangle
yeah, when we
spirit.
sit in the Padmasana, our body is also in a triangle shape, which we
That's
call the
correct.
lotus shape.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's awesome. I think that this is very, very important to understand why we are doing this. And these are, again, are good disciplines to help calm and focus and bring some spiritual understanding into our hearts because we need that today. And as we learned from someone we met this week who has been trapped on the Ivory Coast for 4 months, far away from his family and not able to get home. He was there with weekend provisions for a competition. And so, weekend provisions he's had to live off of for 4 months. I hope that he is joining us and watching us today and will join us with the chess
Just ours.
program this afternoon to help
Yeah.
bring some spiritual understanding, right? We're going to try to get him home as well as he's going to be starting his own show. I can't imagine being, because he even shared with us how depressed he's been when you lose that flicker of light and hope. And bringing, hopefully we can bring him some disciplines and practices to help pull himself out of that darkness.
But
Because
Coach
it's very
Kumar, I was
challenging.
going to just go back for a moment to what we were talking about with the full moon and how it can bring out the beast in people. But what I was hearing you say earlier was they're out of balance. Because if you're balanced and calm during the full moon, you don't have that. Does not affect you that way. It does not bring out
Yeah,
the beast. So
yeah. So as I was saying, sorry, I
stay
can't hear you.
balanced is what I was hearing from you.
Yes, so if we keep ourselves balanced, because what we do, as Kim was also saying, we forget to love ourselves, so we do not give much of head that what our body is needing, should have I drank the water, have I taken the correct food, or all that sort of things, and then we believe a lot on the internet. If I sneeze, I just go on the internet and check, and the tenth answer on the internet is that you're having cancers, any sort of cancer, even if you're sneezing like that. So and all these things. So when you think all these type of things throughout the month, during this month, this that magnifies. But when you keep yourself balanced and you practice spirituality, meditation, or these acupressure points, which we learned in previous weeks, how to hold our fingers and be in the balance, eat the right food and stuff, So our vibration doesn't get affected. I would not say that we go negative or positive in terms of emotion. It's just that our energy vibration is not affected that much. So
Right.
earlier, when I was I was dealing with my father's demise earlier. So during the full moon, I was in too much of depression, and I was crying for no reason. Even if someone was asking me, "How are you feeling?" and I was just crying and saying, "Why are you asking me this?" Because I was not in the sync with my body, my mind, and my spirit was completely shattered. But when I collected myself and focused on what I'm intaking, and by the intake I mean all sort of intake, thoughts, energy, food, water, everything, screen time, what type of light I'm sitting in, everything. And then that changed. And tomorrow is full moon, and I'm celebrating right now. So that's how the shift happens.
Yes. And you can do it yourself,
Yeah.
because you can take yourself out of that depression, and you don't necessarily need it
Of
to ingest
course.
something to make you feel better or feel different. You can do it yourself by getting in touch with your spiritual nature and remain balanced. But I did have another question, because I really believe in the vibrations are low. I think of fear and shame as low vibrations, and we want to be vibrating at a higher level, a higher frequency, higher intensity. Is there such a thing as vibrating too high, at too high a level?
Yeah, and that is why we have the mind, body, and spirit or the soul balance gym in place. Because if our body is not capable of handling that, the higher vibration, then it's going to affect us physically. Maybe we can have dehydration, or maybe headaches, or maybe a disturbed gut. So that's why we call it a mind, body, and spirit or a soul balance. That's why that thing is in the place. So we have to take care of everything, like as I said, the intake, thought for the mind, beliefs and environment and other things for your spirit, and the food for your body.
So that actually mind, spirit, and body kind of forms a
Oh
triangle.
yeah, you got it. You got it correctly. Yeah, very true. And I would love to share this. I just recalled it, and it's related to what Kim said earlier. When I joined my college, and we had our introduction session with our principal, I studied in a convent college. So there were sisters, nuns, who were our principals and teachers. So she came to the stage and said, "Welcome," and everything. And apart from that, she said, "I only have one message for you all. Don't let the child inside you die."
Wow, powerful message. Welcome, Mark.
How's it going, folks?
We're doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's the 4th of July. I did a virtual event yesterday, the virtual One Eno celebration. So it's actually re-airing tonight. Friends of mine, usually on the 4th of July, I'd be at the Eno enjoying the combination patriotic environmental event, because it's actually some environmentalists from here that created that celebration of one of our state parks and the environmental movement and stuff of that nature, but definitely has that 4th of July feel to it. But, like everything else around the world, COVID has put a hold on things. A friend of mine just called me up earlier and was like, "Where are the fireworks?" And I think I've, like 100-mile radius, I think I found like maybe one set. Then they wanted folks to stay in their cars. So definitely
Yes.
wasn't a lot of the traditional fireworks. I did have some folks shooting fireworks out in my parking lot though. So that was
Yeah.
interesting. They had gone and bought the store-bought variety, and we're doing fireworks outside last night, and I imagine they'll be doing them again tonight. So you probably had the
Well,
same thing
you
in
live
your
in
neck of the woods.
California. Please don't shoot off any fireworks. Wildfires are terrible for us. So please don't
Yeah.
shoot off fireworks. But Mark, I've been celebrating today because of your birthday.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm celebrating all week long, and 1st of July is my birthday, so I do appreciate you celebrating that way. Jim, and I also want to hear from Ankit and others, and I know we're getting ready to get to Zack's funk show. I was actually just on the phone with him as well earlier. But my question for y'all is, what did you think of that craziness that went on in the Mount Rushmore area and things of that nature? So you need need the headaches thing. I'm with you, because over there, what many
You know what
people
I
in the
think?
native culture consider sacred grounds of the Black Hills, the foolish person decided to do some crazy celebration that I still don't understand.
I have to
How's it
put on
going,
my
Kim?
I'm struggling with internet problems, but I've rigged up something to keep my computer from overheating. You'll laugh at this, guys, who understand what this is. I took a baker's rack that
Oh.
has grids on it,
Yeah.
and I've lifted my computer up so that air flows. I got a fan in here so that
There you
hopefully
go.
you can hear it.
That's
And-
necessity is the mother of invention.
Well,
So
they
you've
didn't
done
really.
it.
They designed these things with little bitty foots on them, right? But they're too small that anything you set them on, there's no airflow.
Yep.
And so I lifted everything up on a gridded rack, and hopefully, because the rack is getting cold with the fan, so hopefully it will keep. But my computer was getting so hot that it was burning my hands to touch it.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
and
Anchor doesn't
the
know
computer's
anything.
only a year old. It's an Apple, and it's only a year old. I shut down all the apps so that it's not working.
It happened to my iPhone too. Yeah.
Yeah, Anchor doesn't know anything about this or the other young lady because they're probably all in the under 50 club. But me and Jim remember when we had to put plastic wrap and other things on our TVs in order to keep the TV running. Those whole antenna things, the old fashioned.
Absolutely. Rabbit ears.
I got one on you. Do you remember getting aluminum and having to
Yeah,
twist
that's what I'm
it
talking about. The aluminum.
and angle it out?
All the
like
rabbit ears. Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It was a
Yeah.
piece of art on the TV set, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was world's greatest, right? Sometimes it looked like rabbits, sometimes it looked like a deer. I had more fun with the aluminum foil on the antenna than I did with the TV itself. So anyway, Saturday morning for a
So
fun
you found a
time.
better solution that I thought you were just too close to the computer and it was overheating because you were too close to it.
I don't know.
No, but I think you found the real solution. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hope so. It's now I can touch it.
Yeah.
But it's been doing this off and on since COVID. And I never really used it much. We had purchased it for working with one of the directors that was coming on board to the TV show a year ago, and he ended up being a bad situation. But he was giving us a list of all the equipment that he had to have in order to make everything produce right and that we needed. And everyone kept telling me for 2 years I needed to get an Apple, and I despise working with Apples. But I broke down and invested in one. They're $2,700, and it literally sat after he left and did some bad things. But we took him to court and we won. But it sat for a year not being used, and then COVID hit. And my other computer wasn't behaving. And Ankit said, try the Apple, let's set it up. And so I have been, but it overheats like really bad. And it's past the warranty date. So we lost Ankit and on a Monday, May. I hope she comes back because we need to get our homework assignment. We have to have our homework assignment. But today, Mark, are you celebrating 4th?
That's what we were just talking about. I was just saying that some friends of mine called and they were not able to find any real 4th celebrations. I think they found something in the Roxborough area, which, is an area here that was doing it, and it was going to be people driving and having to stay in their cars. But I actually did one Eno celebration, because usually I'd be doing the Eno festival on the 4th of July weekend, but they did the combination of live and tape recording yesterday, and they will do a replay today for the 4th of July. So that's what's going on. So that was kind of my 4th celebration. But usually, as I've told and Jim knows, the 4th of July and my birthday come close together. So I usually have that as my big birthday celebration. All those thousands of people, but I couldn't have my thousands of people to celebrate my birthday this year because of all of the COVID things that are going on. Yeah, and I don't have the kind of pull that I can get a whole mount like Mount Rushmore to still have a celebration like some silly people did. But that's just what folks did, and I think that they're gonna have some consequences for that. But that's just my thought.
Maybe we celebrated in a different down home way. I mean, many years we went out to the family ranch to celebrate the 4th. They would hold a huge celebration where we shot off fireworks that were as big as SeaWorld's because we had a connection from them. So we would have out in the middle of nowhere ranch shooting off at the riverside, because the river ran through the ranch itself. And so we would go down to the river and shoot off these fireworks. And then over the years, I got to where I could not travel to the ranch during this time of year. So we have friends out in the country, again, out in the country, and they have this huge pond and a big, beautiful concrete area down there, but we shoot off fireworks, but nobody's doing anything this year.
And that's what I was just telling Jim. He was saying that he definitely didn't want it going on in the West Coast, but I was telling him that my neighbors here in my apartment complex, they were shooting them off last night. So I'm pretty sure they'll be shooting off some tonight because it's a level field. So, and I heard several others around the community. So definitely, I know that there were fireworks salespeople, because actually I saw one near a grocery store in Durham, and they were definitely having brisk sales, I'll put it that way. So I know that a lot of people are buying individual fireworks and are, like you're saying, having their own private fireworks. I do hope people are being safe with that.
Right. They did not have the firework tents this year like they usually have, where we could go purchase. And quite honestly, in North Carolina, it's very illegal to shoot off the big fireworks. Yeah. You would have to go to South Carolina to purchase your big fireworks. So over the years, sometimes we would make sure we had a trip going to South Carolina a week or two early, pick up a bunch of the big fireworks and bring them back. And again, I don't recommend doing this unless you live in an area that has very few trees or you're far away from the trees, because you have no idea how far those things project. Right. And that you live near a water source, like, where we've always gone has been at the river or at the lake or a big pond. Yeah. And, but it will burn the grass. I mean, this is what I tell people. But behind us, they've been shooting off fireworks last night. I think they're just revving up for the big show tonight. And but I can't.
You made me think of something because you go to South Carolina if you can't get it in North Carolina. Well, I grew up in New England, and living in Massachusetts, there were blue laws. Do you know what the blue laws were?
Yes, I do.
So Sundays you could not purchase alcohol. Well, we lived right over the line from Vermont. Vermont didn't have blue laws, so we just go to Vermont.
We definitely know about the blue law here in North Carolina, because we've got similar kind of laws that have existed. And then I went to school in a state that has the infamous line, because I don't know how many of you remember the Blues Brothers, the famous movie and everything, where they make the comparison between Chicago and Wisconsin, because of course they were based in Chicago. And there's that infamous line about coming to Milwaukee because they knew that they could get the beer at a certain age, whereas it's a different age in Chicago.
That's right. We did that too for New York. Massachusetts was older and New York was younger. So,
well, I've always seemed to live in a state that had the blue ribbon law, where they and just, again, like Sundays, but it was all the sins, right? So no cigarettes, no alcohol, no. Right. And it was, North Carolina just changed the law probably 5 or 6 years ago, where you could buy alcohol after 1 on Sundays.
Right.
So, but it's after 1 o'clock.
You go to church, and then you
go to church, you pray and ask for forgiveness of being a drunken, and then you can go pick it up for the football game. Such a hypocritical state.
I think our homework lady is back, so she's got to give us our homework before we get to Zack. So I know we have homework to do to stay mentally sane and stay sane in these kind of hard times. So I'm waiting for my homework assignment.
Wait, there's no hope for Mark. Okay, so we're not going to wait for him.
I've got enough hope for both of us, Mark. Don't worry.
We got to keep Mark insane so that he can keep running that great and wonderful radio talk show on IBM TV, because that's insane. I love it. No, it's great. It's great radio talk, but absolutely, we all need that spiritual healing. And it's weird. I did make a rude comment about North Carolina and how, we all go to church to, that's what the blue ribbon law was for, right? To ask for forgiveness of your sins, and then you go out and drink. But we do that we all need some sort of absolution in life. That's what it's about, right? But for whatever reason, the state felt like they needed to control our lives, of what we can buy, when we can buy it. And this is what I started out the show today about what the 4th of July is and what it's supposed to be about is we left a country so that we could have freedom from religion and freedom from taxation, bully taxation. And in fact, we have a worse bully taxation system with full immunity. And we never had freedom from that kind of religion that was prejudice. We still instilled religious prejudice, horrifying effects on people where they would, burn and torture people for not following the religious factors here in the United States because you were a witch, or they would punish you because you don't follow the religious laws. Very prejudiced against, human beings for gender choice. And they still do today. Yeah. So, we never, to me, this is what I told somebody from England who said, hey, congratulations on you guys, leaving the UK. And I go, no, actually, congratulations on you guys getting rid of all your criminals, because apparently we brought the worst part of it to the United States.
Or Australia.
Yeah, right. Australia is also a prison colony as well. That's very true. And the other thing is that you're so right that oftentimes the religion, and I have some interesting views about religion and spirituality, but oftentimes it is used to validate some of the worst of habits, and whether that's things revolving around gender, whether that's things revolving around race. Let's not forget that slavery was actually justified using religion as part of the justification. So that's actually how they would find a passage in the Bible or something else, whether that was the story of Ham or whatever, to justify.
They always found a passage in the Bible to torture women, to torture people of gender choice, and to torture people of color. And to me, no religious, but we left this for many years of my life, and it gets very exhausting, is that this country was supposed to be free of that, and it wasn't.
Well,
so
I don't recommend this.
Coming back to,
I don't recommend this. If you ever read KKK literature, which I have, and they are definitely against blacks, and that's what we think of when we think of KKK, because they putting down that doing all sorts of horrible things. But the other thing that they hate is what they call the Romans, and the Romans, if you substitute Catholic for Romans, because they mean Roman Catholic. So the KKK hated both equally, and they had a religious bias against anyone who was, such as an Irish Catholic like myself, didn't worship the way they thought you had to worship.
I had to be very careful when my parents moved from Texas to North Carolina, because North Carolina is so predominantly KKK to this day. And as a Catholic, we would have been hung, burned, tortured. I was treated really bad. But the KKK is bad, not just in that way, but they are that hateful against gays, lesbians, bis, trans. But again, we left England saying we wanted freedom of religion, and yet we brought the worst case. But religion promoted the worst human crimes of all times.
The Crusades.
It gave them absolution for those crimes. And so I agree that in most cases, but you know what I tell people, I quit finding religion in churches, because churches define a lot of those crimes. And so I stopped going to churches because of that. And I started finding true religion when I did that, true religion based on what we are learning here with Anandmai and with you guys and with Jim, that the spiritual practicing of true spiritual of God, whatever God it is that you choose, it happens here. It doesn't happen in a building. If you ever read the 10 Commandments, it's really stupid. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Seriously? So as a woman, I could go covet a man? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You guys wrote this. The men wrote the laws to do what? To enforce the way they wanted them to be enforced, just like we write our laws today. And this is what I try to tell people. While we're being distracted with all of this nonsense, and I'm calling it nonsense because it has become nonsense, while we're being distracted, You have no idea. I do now, but you have no idea, because that's the first place I go. The minute this starts happening, I start going to look at the laws they're writing and getting ready to push. And these laws are intended to hurt you worse than the laws that existed previous. So anything that you guys think you're gaining out of, not just you guys, because I support the words of the protest, but anything we think we're gaining, we're not. We have just given them the open door to hurt us. So we need to pull people together, and we need to go where we need to be, and that is in their face. And we need to tell them to not make these changes in laws that they're getting ready to make. But what we need to do also is become focused, understand what we, let's do this. Hold on. Focus, find our pyramid, and put in there what we want to gain, and then do it.
Right.
But the protesting is not going anywhere anymore. And in fact, it's becoming more of a work, a nuisance, than it is a work of progress. And we need to pull together and unify to make our solutions. But we need to go. I think that they have promoted all of the contention so that they can get away with all the little things they're doing. And if
So
you
they
think
declared they make it a culture war. I mean, that's actually what the speech was. He declared it a culture war and said that he was going to go with the far left to whatever that means and things of that nature. So they've very much outlined it in the terms of a culture war. And Jim, I think the last time I heard the culture war terms was around the time of Reagan and maybe even Nixon. So we've not heard that kind of conversation in a long time from what I remember. And just him putting it in that context is very scary. So I think that
I feel like I went to sleep in the United States and woke up in the divided states, because our country is just being torn by this these things.
I think we're living in a zombie world right now. You know,
It's a bizarro
people talk about zombies, but humans have no more empathy. Our empathy has been washed. And if you notice, people just don't care about people anymore. We walk around without that feeling a need to help each other, to heal the world. We've become a nation that promotes what I call unusual insulting. And, somebody was like ranting and raving some insults today on LinkedIn, of all places, a business place, right? Promoting Trump, going, "You freaking idiots on the left," and it insulted the other side. And I go, I really respected you until, why does Trump people and Trumpettes have to be so insulting to get their point across? And because before now, I used to respect you, but now all you do is insult and bring people down instead of promote people up. And that's what we're missing. But I truly believe if you read science fiction books or watch the stupid movies that I really don't care for, I think we've become that. We have become what they wrote about, but not Wolfman.
So basically what you're saying is that 1984
The tale
just maybe
was just a little bit more
36 years late. So, but the concept is the same.
Kimberly, you're breaking up a little bit.
We have,
and so I'll just carry the show for a little bit until she gets back in sync with us. And I think that we're talking about.
Am I still?
You're
still
stuttering a little bit there. I don't know what's going on. So
okay,
we'll just keep the conversation going.
What you were talking about all this language is coming back, and we're hearing things that we thought we had moved past again. I was wondering, because there's many reasons why we should not have gone to make a divisive speech in front of the Mount Rushmore. But I also thought, isn't it ironic that he's standing before a giant granite faces of men that everyone respects, and doesn't he look small in comparison? And who is giving him advice about doing that? And
like I said, I don't know who gave him that advice, because he did look small in comparison. I did hear, like I think I might have mentioned earlier, one of his aides was talking about actually carving his face in there as well, which I think is a joke to try to have him carved there as a symbolic figure of greatness or whatever. But I agree that he definitely looks small. But Jim, just look at the sites that he's picked so far. That's one of the things I wrote on my own Facebook
Tulsa?
post. Is that he went to Tulsa, which is the Tulsa massacre. He went to the Black Hills. I mean, what's he going to go next to? Is he going to go to 3 Mile Island to insulting environmentalists? Is he going to go to the Wilmington massacre? Or is he going to go
Let's
to?
get Coach Kumar back in here to help us balance, because Coach, as a country, we are out of balance.
Yeah,
our vibrations are all over the map, and
I need some balance.
Low vibrations.
Yeah,
So
I need some
how
balance.
can we help our country vibrate at a higher level?
I think we have to start at one human at a time. We have to start inside us.
Right. No, I agree with you on that.
We are doing this with Anandmai, and maybe as each of us learn from her the homework assignments that we need to do. I think this was brilliant, what you taught us today, that this is going to be part of what we want to gain from life. With it being a full moon, maybe we could learn some prayers and chants. But, symbolisms that they may seem like, they do unify people, right? Just like in religion, they've always unified people with symbolisms. I think we need to do that. But as each of us are practicing them and we become sound and grounded again, so will the people around us, right? It will not happen overnight, but we can bring all of this in where we need it to be. And we need to just say, okay, I have to start with myself first. One of the greatest, and I can't remember which one because I listened to so many of them, but old politicians one time said, because they kept asking him, why didn't you ever run for president? And he said, I learned that I can do the best good, the most good, just for my community. Right.
No, I'm a big supporter of local politics for exactly that reason, because as we know, a lot of times the real decisions are made on the local level, and that's where the real stuff is being done. So definitely we need to support our folks on the local level, just on all things, even in what our coach is doing, even in kind of like creating those kind of positive environments, even within our own houses and things of that nature. So we need to have a lot of that kind of stuff going on. At least that's the way I feel about it. And I'm sorry I missed your coaching session earlier, but I didn't pop in till later. So sorry that I did get that symbol. So I learned the symbol now.
Yeah.
So this is, you put your hand, show us, Anandmai. Show us, Coach.
So you have to put one of your palm like this, the other one beneath it, and just join your thumb, and it will make a triangle.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you. I like
and triangles are very important in our history of spiritual word, even if you go back to the pyramids. But like she said, that if you look at all the churches and everything, we all have that pyramid of going up, or that triangle. So that's what we do.
Spirit, body.
Right.
Spirit, body. Exactly.
But Anandmai, share with us what we're supposed to do with this.
So while putting our hand like this, and you can Google how to sit in Padmasana. It's basically fold your legs and sit on the ground. Most of people outside India know it as sitting in the yoga posture. So you just have to sit on the ground, put your hands like this in your lap, and put the intention of what exactly do you want to manifest in your life. And just sit with that thought for a couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And whichever is your chant, whatever is your chant, which you feel that gives you energy, you can chant that in your head. How I do it is that I write my intention. I put it in this triangle while sitting in the Padmasana. And then keeping that, and I chant it once, the intention or what I want in my life. And then I chant the mantras which we have been taught in India. Mahamrityunjaya mantra or Gayatri mantra, whichever feels, and it comes automatically. You do not have to plan it, or whichever is your chant, you can give your chant, because the intention matters. On full moon, all your emotions and intentions, they get multiplied and magnified.
Yeah,
so
I love
whatever vibration you will be, it will be just magnified and multiplied for next 5 days to 10 days.
Coach Kumar,
I love that flavor, and I love the way that you do that, because I've had some friends that have been, I've gone to some events that they've been doing yoga, and part of the when they do the yoga, they do like the pyramid thing with the upwards pyramid. And I've noticed that included as part of their tradition is getting that. Now, sometimes they get into like those, I hate to say this because I need to work on my exercise. That needs to be one of my intentions. But they get into those like complicated exercise moves that are a little bit too hard for me at the beginning. But I love the beginning parts because that's more the mindfulness aspect. But when we get into the hard parts of the exercise, that's kind of when I start pulling back a little bit.
Mark, I can help you with that. And Coach Kumar, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are modified positions. For example, I have knee trouble, so I cannot get into the ideal yoga position, but I can get into a modified position, which is just as effective.
On the chair, you can sit on the chair with your, as we discussed in our last session, as with your feet completely touching the ground without any footwear. You can wear your socks, but there should not be any rubber thing or anything like that, maybe a shoes or a slipper or a flip-flop or anything. You can sit and just imagine the roots growing through you and you are good to go.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mark, you missed a good part of the show where we talked about the full moon bringing out the animal and people and the werewolves and things like that. But so, our crime rate is the highest during the full moon. Our hospitalization rate's the highest during the full moon. Birth rates are the highest. So be careful out there.
Coach Kumar, what I chant to myself is peace and harmony. Peace and harmony.
Peace and harmony.
And I cannot express how calming that is for me. Just to get into that position, to have my hands in my lap, and to chant that over and over again until I feel. And then I think after I do that for a while, I'm doing that for the world. Then I spend some time, a smaller amount of time, saying it for myself. Because I think that.
No, I love that. And that whole concept of peace and harmony is very much needed. And sometimes what I do, and I'm just noticing the coach, and I'm loving her artwork behind her, but sometimes what I'll do is I just find something centered, like an art piece, and I'll just kind of like concentrate on that. I don't even know what that artwork is. It looks like there's some sort of tree or something in the background, but it definitely looks very eye-catching, and it helps me even ground as I'm looking at the picture of you, because I see that photo, that artwork in the background.
Yeah.
Thank you so
She's
much.
always beautiful, and she's celebrating today and wearing the bright colors of celebration because they had good news about her mother, and so she was, in celebration wearing the bright colors. But we're celebrating life today, and don't you think that if we all learned all of these things as we were growing up, that maybe there would be less emphasis on prejudice and more emphasis on peace and harmony, like Jim was saying, that our religion basis wouldn't be enforcing. And I truly believe that the churches and the religions enforce the prejudice that we have lived with in our years of life, because that's where our laws come from. Our laws come from religion. So there you go.
Pass the truth to the next generation, teach them early what we learned. I agree so much with you. And that's something that and I also with what you said, Kim, is that too often the churches are too busy in the cult of the personalities and too busy paying attention to the leadership and the things of that nature. Because as I've mentioned on this show before, I remember a documentary, and Jim, you may remember it as well. It was one on the major networks, but it was about religion. And it basically said the whole concept was that if we look at all of the religions, it doesn't matter whether it's Eastern or Western or whatever, it's all basically got the same themes. It's got like the 4 or 5, 6 basic themes, which is love thy neighbor, respect others, everything of that nature. They all have the same basic message. There may be extremists on all the religions, and even some of those that are more peacefully known religions have extremists in them as well. But that's not the norm. That's not the norm. That's not what should be the norm. So that's something that has been corrupted within the religions. But in my mind, most of the religions are all about the like message. And as I've told several friends of mine just in conversations, I think that there are going to be some very upset people, those that have that attitude of my way or the highway, whenever they make it up there to heaven, assuming they make it that far, because I think that they're going to be seeing some shocking people up there that they're not expecting. Like if they've got that, you got to be a Christian and you can't be this or that. I fully expect that the Buddha is going to be up there. I fully expect that some of the Muslim leaders are going to be up there. I fully expect that a lot of folks are going to be up there. So if they've got that my way or the highway kind of approach, I think that Gabriel and God and a lot of the other folks are going to be basically laughing at them, going like, nobody told you that. So I don't know what you're thinking about, because we shouldn't send that message.
I think how you treat people here is how, and I think you're going to be truly understood when you get up there. What if, and I always tell people, what if God treated you that way?
Exactly.
Right? What if God, when you got to the gates, God's going to say, you know what? I'm going to treat you just like, because if you think about it that way, then maybe humans would react different. A lot of people don't know this. My mother and well, they don't know my mother-in-law, but she taught me this. She was a really good historian as well as a Bible reader. Like she was truly into the Bible schools and everything. But she had a real problem with the way the Bible was written, because it was truly written to control people. King James in general was written to control the army. Everything that was written in the King James version was all about controlling his men in the army. A lot of it was about how people should be controlling women. It was meant to keep women, docile. And
Really, the Bible was written by men for men.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't written just for men. It was written for particular men, just like the top 1% of the country laws. So you have to look at it that way. And I think if more people really, but people are easily to be bent and to follow certain things, because we're all looking for absolution, right? Mostly absolution for our sins and acceptance. Absolution and acceptance are two things that we all want. Approval, right? The A's in life. We all want those A's. And we talked about this when we started this particular part of the show in spiritualness. What are people looking for, right? And why do people get so lost? And it's truly because they've lost that feeling of being accepted. And when all of that leaves you, you start feeling lonely. And part of learning to love yourself eliminates that loneliness, right?
So that's what I was telling earlier, Kim, that when I joined my college, the first day when the principal came,
I'm going to be doing that all day.
So first, and I studied in a convent college where nuns were our teachers and principal. So she came, she just said, welcome to the new batch of the student and everything. And she just said that don't let the child inside you die. That was her only message to us. No fancy words, nothing. And after 3 years, after graduating on our convocation day, she again came on the stage. She said, all the best to you guys. And again, the same sentence, don't let the child inside you die. So have you ever seen any child, like they fight for small things like a pencil or maybe a doll or a toy, but then they become friends like that? It's the parents conditioning, like you don't have to play with that boy because the person, that boy has stolen your toy or that girl has stolen your doll. So it's the parents, it's the adults who put all these feelings in the kid, but the kid is always innocent. They fight, they learn, they grow together, and they are together again. And as we were talking about the religion and the books, Gautam Buddha was not a Buddhist. Even Shiva is a consciousness. Shiva is not a Hindu person. He's a consciousness. Right. Jesus Christ was just a human teaching us love and acceptance.
Right.
So, and all these books are written, all these religion books, and I am not discriminating or I'm not saying anything about any religion. They are written in a way to control people, just to see how many followers they have. Otherwise, if you see, you just need to change your perception for a moment and just think, when you stand on the Mother Earth, how far your feet reaches on the same level as mine. So how can I be big than you or you big than me? We all are reaching at the same level. And that's so beautiful. it doesn't matter how tall you grow. It's the more important thing is that how deep your roots are.
Yeah, I agree with you so much because one of the greatest things that I think that I just find joy in every day is while I live in the city, because Durham is a urban area. I mean, it's a small urban area, but it's an urban area. But while I live in the city, I just enjoy going for a quick walk. And while I'm doing that walk, and it might be a destination walk, I'm sitting there looking at the robin, sitting there looking at the butterfly, sitting there looking at the various things of nature that are out there. And like sometimes I'm even seeing them turn around and they're observing me and I'm observing them. So we're observing each other, but we're sharing that same space and enjoying the fact that we are sharing that space, which is the space of nature. But not trying to exploit them, not trying to catch them, not trying to do anything of that nature, but just enjoying them. I know last week I literally went around the corner from my apartment and there was a little rabbit sitting right there. And the rabbit looked at me, I looked at the rabbit, and we just had this moment of bonding, just looking at each other. Eventually, I think the rabbit thought that, I might be trying to get a little too close because I did pull out my camera phone, wanted to get a picture of him, and the rabbit was like, "That's okay. I don't want to have my Cecil DeMille moment right now, so I'm going to go hop off right now." So he went hopping
Camera
away.
shot.
For the
Yeah.
initial moment, we were enjoying each other's company, but he was like, "No, I don't want to be a model right now, so I'm going to go hop away and enjoy myself." So he disappeared, but just sitting there and bonding with that rabbit was a very special moment. And I also agree with you about play. I'm 58. I know Jim's a little bit older than me and everything, not knocking ages, but everything. But and don't let the white beard fool you. But 58. But I've got friends that are in their 30s, 40s, even some in their 20s. And to me, some of the most engaging people are those that don't mind grabbing a frisbee and just tossing that frisbee and having those very much childlike moments and just enjoying that. I mean, I know Jim's into chess and that's more of a strategy game, but I'm also talking about those that just enjoy doing what some folks would consider childish kind of games. But to me, they're just having good times, whether that's tossing a frisbee, whether that's playing a game of jacks, whether that's, even the pickup games of basketball and things of that nature. But that's very much engaging and very much just those folks to me are some of the most true people because they are just enjoying that moment. It's not all about the competition. I mean, they might be having some fun with the competition, but it's also just about having some social time and some social fun.
Well, it's just like I bought squirt guns for my niece for her birthday, right? And I didn't buy just one because her mom said she would really love a squirt gun. We haven't been able to find them. I bought a whole bag of them because one squirt gun by itself is not fun. But the whole family, right? Adults and everything. Oh, wow, this is cool. I bought all different kinds, right? From the pump kind to the little ones. And she got to that. She was like, "Oh wow, this looks like a space," and but it was like you were saying, it's for all ages, right? Be goofy, be a kid. Don't not. But she goes, I just said one gun, and I go, but this is a lot more fun, isn't it? And she's like, yeah. So
I mean, one of the silliest things that I ever saw, and I brought this up to y'all last time, and I think I might have said the wrong year, because I think I said 50. It's actually 150, but. And I don't know if we'll have it this year because of COVID, but there is a small man-made river, for lack of a better term, that is in a place called American Tobacco. It's near where the Bull Durham, for those that are international and watching this, they'll know the Bull Durham because of the movie. So it's near that. There's a little river. They do a duck race. It's a fundraiser. And so it's literally a bunch of ducks like this that are running down the field, and whichever duck wins, that's the one that wins the contest. But I mean, it's totally not anything that there's controlled. It's not people pushing the duck. So it's all by the natural gravity and the things of the waves and the way that the river runs. So it's not like you have any control in it. It's totally random chance who wins. And the people are just having fun. They're buying the little ducks, and this was the one last year to celebrate Durham's 150th anniversary. So they're buying the little ducks, and then the little ducks are running down. But it was just amazing watching. I mean, it was everything from little kids to people I know well into their 80s and 90s watching that little duck run down the race and had like little vested interest in the duck. So they would sit there going, this duck was actually given to me because I had not bought my own duck. But one of my friends was like, Mark, you have to have a duck. So this is your duck. It did not win, Jim, by the way. I think it finished like in 200th place. So it didn't matter though.
Who cares? Yeah.
Exactly. You're in the game.
Don't let the child die in you because when you're a child, your imagination is flowering, and you imagine all sorts of possibilities, and you create all sorts of different worlds or different things that aren't real, but you're trained to think of reality and tamper down your imagination and think of what is actually there. And so we lose our ability to imagine, to create.
I think that is one of the worst things that has happened in our school system. And like I said, I brought this up a couple of other times. I have worked in education with a testing company, a leading national testing company, has also done some testing with international folks as well. So it's a company that has done both local and state and national and international testing. But a lot of times they can't gauge that. I mean, I even know right now we're talking about trying to test the testers against the computer. But I mean, a lot of times kids are naturally imaginative. There are like some great essays that I have seen that because of the way it is structured, I've had to give either bad grades or give grades that I did not necessarily agree with. But when I read those essays, I'm sitting there going like, this kid is the next Isaac Asimov, the next Carl Hyson, the next all these great things. 'Cause I've just read some amazing things, and even some of there's a term that is used in education called a refusal. Basically, it means that the kid knows that the test is not really worth anything, so they don't really want to take the test, so they write a refusal, meaning that basically it's an elaborate, I don't really give a crap about the test. But some of those were some of the most best essays I have ever seen because, yes, there are some that are basically like, and excuse me, coach, for using this term, but some of them are like the F the system and all of that kind of essays that are very negative. But then there were some other ones that were very elaborate. Some of them would be like, I don't feel like taking this test, but I want to tell you about my day, this or that. I want to tell you about, like you were saying, Jim, this imaginative world that they created. And in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there going in my head, I'm like, I really wish I had, because a lot of times these are private tests with no connections to the people. So I don't have like an email or any way to contact them. And I get that. That's for security reasons. I understand that. But in my mind, sometimes I'm like, I really wish I had a way to get in touch with this kid, because I'd be like, hey, you don't know me. My name is Mark. I'm in North Carolina. You've got the greatest future I've ever seen of a writer. I just wanted to call and encourage you. Because that was just me and my nature and what I would do. But if I had those kind of capabilities, but I know, and I get why they do it, and security reasons, and they don't want the predators coming after folks. Because even though we're trying to be very positive, we do know that there are those types that are out there. So I mean, I plainly understand why they have these rules and regulations. But at the same time, somebody as kind-hearted as me, I do sometimes wish that I could just reach through there, just like you want to hug. Like I don't have any kids, but I have nephews, and just like I like to hug them when they do well on soccer or give them kudos. There's some kids that I don't know at all because, like I said, I don't have any kids of my own. But as friends of mine have told me, some of us that don't have kids, we wind up being leaders in our community, even in the community of young people, just based on our having ties to them. So, like I said, I don't have any kids. I do have my two nephews, but I've got a group of folks way underneath my age. I'd say from teenage and young kids on up to like folks way older than me. So like in the 80s and 90s, that are part of my extended family, because I have a very extensive extended family in that sense, just because I believe in trying to connect to people and giving that positive energy to as many people as I can, because I think that that's what life is about, is extending the positive energy that we all try to have in our lives to the world. Like I said, if I can have one legacy that I hope to leave, and that's just what I hope. And I think that that's the impression I get from Jim. That's the impression I get from Kim. That's the impression I even get from you, Coach, and others that we have in our community, is that we are definitely have that kind of spirit, that so much so that, if something was to happen bad to us tomorrow, don't want anything bad to happen to any of us, but no one never knows what fate has in store. So if somebody was to happen and one of us was to step out and, the quote unquote infamous get hit by a truck, I think all of us would have definitely left a lasting legacy based on some of the things that we're doing and are continuing to do. But I just think that too often we don't have that flavor in our lives. We're so focused on the negative. And I agree with you, Kim, to some degree. I do think that some of the protests are doing some positive things, but so we disagree on that. But I do think that sometimes we get too caught up on the negative aspect of what's going on, and we do need to concentrate more on the positive aspect of what's going on in general.
I just want to help. I don't want to see it. Sometimes you can cause a bigger problem by not being focused on the right things. You lose the track. But I truly believe, and I don't want to lose what our spiritual Sunday or Saturday is about, but I truly believe that there's a contention being thrown around so that it's distracting what other people want to do, and what they are trying to gain is going to hurt you. And I think Amanda May has to step aside a minute.
No.
Amanda May, did you get to take care of, because Mark just talked about taking care of older people. Did you get to take care of what you needed to?
Yeah. It's done.
Okay.
Well, Coach Kumar, I have a question for you, because what I have told myself is that in order to remember that child, I have to forget what I have been taught. So I practice a lot of forgetting in order to remember. And does that make any sense?
Can you please repeat? I couldn't hear. There was some disturbance.
Yeah, there was an echo that hit right at that moment. Can you try that again?
Sure.
Yeah, just try that again. That could have been my fault because my AC kicked on, so I think it might have made it an echo, but I turned it down, so I apologize.
Okay, because I can remember this because I tell myself this every day, and it's to remember to forget. Because for me to remember that child within that we want to keep alive, I have to forget a lot of the training and teaching that I have been given in my life. So I say to myself every day, remember to forget.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Just to remember to forget, and also I think one of the things that we all have to do is remember to catch on to our childhood ways and everything. Because too often, I mean, we all got it. I mean, I don't care whether you're in India, I don't care whether you're in Australia, where I know we have some listeners at, or England, or wherever. We all got bills. We've all got those adult responsibilities, as they call them. But at the same time, while we need to identify and relate to those adult responsibilities, I think we still need to have time just to be childlike and enjoy those childlike moments and everything. Because I think that we get so caught up around the world in the rat race and wanting to, quote unquote, make it and do successful. And I mean, I think we all do that. I mean, we all want to be successful in whatever we're doing. I mean, Jim wants to win the world championship in chess, even though he knows he's got a hard time getting there and he's got to knock out some folks. I know Kim's got some big plans for IBM TV, and as well as some of her inventions and everything. So I know that we all have things that we want to do in the world that are more, quote unquote, adult oriented. But at the same time, you know, sometimes you just got to do something silly. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes if I get in the shower in the morning or in the late afternoon, I'll sit there and hum to myself, might even sing to myself, and have some of those childlike moments. So I think we've got to have those as well in life.
But Coach Kumar, I think there's something that is a cycle for me, because I tell myself to remember to forget in order to remember that childlike, excuse me, way of being. So it's remember to forget my training, to remember what it was like to be a child. And so it's and then I forget again, and I have to remind myself again. And so it's always going like that for me. But I was wondering what you wanted to say about that.
Yeah, so you put it very beautifully, and how I say and how I have experienced it, that when you start walking on the path of spirituality, you need to decondition a lot, and you need to unlearn a lot what we have been taught since our childhood. And when we start stripping away all those labels which are attached to us, then we start you. So by remembering the childhood doesn't mean you have to remember the actions. You have to remember the love, the innocence, the connection. We used to play in the mud in India. When I used to come home, me and my brother, my mother would have to struggle to find out which one of us are her children, because we all looked alike. We were all covered in mud from head to toe, and that gave us a lot of pleasure and happiness. And that was and we knew that when we go back home, mom will be ready with a stick or something to beat us because we have done something like that, and she has to work a lot, bathe us, and then wash our clothes and stuff. But that innocence and that connection, and the time we started growing up, we were loaded with the burden of success, that you have to succeed in your exams, in school, in college, in your career, and everything. We forgot how we enjoyed it, how we enjoyed our life. And once we make that connection with the child inside us, then all these gaps are bridged, and they are bridged very beautifully. And I would like to share this two of my experiences. One, when we were talking about how we can incorporate these in the children. So one of my cousin, he's a doctor in New York, and he came back from a COVID duty, and his son is 6, my nephew, and he started chattering. And my brother was very tired, and he just tried to ignore him and look into the fridge. He was looking for something, and the child asked him, "Dad, what are you looking for?" And then my brother was so frustrated, he just said, "I'm looking for some peace." And my nephew said, "Did you try to look inside yourself?"
Oh.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. How beautiful.
And that comes back to that old saying that is so true, from the mouth of babes is sometimes what the answers are at. From the mouth of babes is sometimes those answers that we're looking for.
So
But that's a
I'm talking
reflection
about
of
that
our
with the
parents.
connection.
Yeah. I think that was a reflection of good parenting too. But go ahead, continue. There were two.
Yeah. So yeah, and the other one was this Wednesday earlier. We have our own sessions. Like, we also get coached, because we also need. I am a coach, but still I need a coach for myself as well. So while going through that meditation, at the end, when I was in connection with Mother Earth and Father Sky, the message what I got from the universe was, what's the use of wanting when universe is already working towards my well-being and for me?
Wow.
And
Was
when we believe it, and after this also, I was making some very big statements that I want this, I want that, and stuff. And then I read it for a couple of more times, because I wrote it just after my meditation. And then when I read it for a couple of more times, I just felt that, okay, if someone else is working for me, and that thing is the ultimate power, what's the need of want it in a certain way? I will just put my intention. I just, if I say, if I want success in my business, I would just say I would like to see myself after 5 years on this place, or maybe this much evolved. Why I have to associate it with some trophies, some awards, or say, for example, if I'm into film line, I would say I will be successful only if I win the Oscar. If I want to make a difference, I could just say that I am at a place where everyone remembers me, that when I see the picture of this lady or this girl, I get something. And that will be my success story. I do not need to associate my success with any award or any mention in any magazine. And that gives so much of calm and peace to myself when I think of it. And whenever I'm in a panic, because when doctor advised the COVID test for my mother, for few minutes I was like, oh God, what next? What if the result come positive? And then I said, no, someone else is working for me. Why I have to worry about it? And even before the result came, I told everyone the report is going to be negative. We don't have to worry. It's just that the doctor wanted it, and that's why we are getting it done.
that's right.
So that
I agree
really,
with you so much. I agree with you so much because, like I said, just to come back to your film example, to me, some of the greatest filmmakers that are out there are the filmmakers that have made a statement, but they're not out there necessarily to win the awards. I don't think the impression I get of Spike Lee, and I'm just going to give some examples. Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay, I think I pronounced her name correctly and everything, and even like some of the other ones, even Myra Nair, to use the Indian examples and everything. The impression I get from them is that they could care less about the awards. It's more about the kind of message and the kind of stories that they are trying to tell. Now, some of these might be more message oriented than others. Some of them might just be plain fun movies, but the impression I get from them is that they are not paying that much attention to the awards. It's more about doing the message and getting the message out there. I actually happened to stumble across, and like I'm getting ready to mention something. Double check this, like I double check with Nick about the drugs. So I stumbled across a TEDx talk. It was actually a TEDx talk by a sex therapist, and I stumbled across it last night or early this morning. One of the things that this young lady, who was an Irish Catholic, by the way, if I remember correctly, she said and everything was that trying to say her name was like Monica McGrath or something like that. But one of the things that she said was that one of the places that we get lost, even in those things, is that we lose the childlike aspect, or the aspect when we first discover each other and first discover the relationship. We get too busy caught up worrying about what else is going on in the family, the bills, and all of this other kind of stuff. And she was definitely encouraging people to actually, spend some time even in those relationships where you have time with your significant other, where you're actually engaged on a more intimate kind of connection, but also where you're enjoying some of the early stages of the relationship and that enjoyment that you had there, not worrying about, the fact that you might have put on this or that, or that you might not have this dress that you want, or the shirt that you want, or the different other things, but to actually concentrate a little bit more on some of the things that would got you in the relationship in the beginning, and not to get so caught up in the day-to-day junk, for lack of a better term, that we get caught up in, even when we're in that private moment, because sometimes our minds are going all over the place. Because she was actually making several jokes about that, like, we're sitting over there. She actually said, and I forget the exact joke, but it was like we were so busy texting and doing other things, or thinking about texting, that we weren't even enjoying the environment that we were in. So she was like saying that we need to stop that.
It's absolutely true. And Kimberly, when he was listing off filmmakers that are doing it for their passion, with their message, did you think of a filmmaker? I know I did.
Oh, yeah, I think, yes, I do.
I was thinking of Henning Morales.
Yes, he's definitely one. I've had the pleasure of meeting him, and I would definitely put him in that category.
Yeah.
He everything he is doing is about reminding us about the children in us, but also about the children that we need to be responsible for. And that's his message, is that, and he's got his movie coming out today, and still hasn't given me the passes yet. Corey said that I guess they're experiencing some technical difficulties. We'll be getting them out soon, but honestly, I think even if we miss the premiere today, there's going to be
a workout.
Right. I watched it the other evening. With it hasn't like been fully wrapped yet, and so we watched it Wednesday night. It was still fabulous. One of the things I like about Henning is his moral values, and so he refuses to use a lot of the foul language and a lot of the drugs. He is very much against drugs. And so you're not going to see this in his movies. It's just not something, even though it might have been part of the culture environment of the time of the movie, he really tries to make things happen where you don't need it. And so his whole thing is truly just driving in more moral values into children. And hey, all of this drama is still going to go on, but we don't have to have all of this immoral language and immoral activities and get our point across. And so his big thing is he did not want to influence drug use, like we were talking about the other day with the one movie from the 80s.
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, The Breakfast Club. And I always think of Pretty in Pink and all of them that came from that gender. And he said, the first thing he brought up was, they used smoking pot, and that's not something he's going to do, even though that was a big thing during then. He doesn't want to influence it. He doesn't want the kids to walk away and go, oh, we can go and smoke pot and still have a great outcome. So, and you won't, I don't even think you'll see cigarette smoke. Not that I'm looking, but I don't even think you'll see cigarettes being smoked in his film.
The coach
about that.
Coach Kumar, one of the things that Henning is really involved in is dealing with teenage angst. So the message that you're sharing with us today is about getting in touch with our inner child. What is it? What would your advice be for someone coming into the teenage angst years? And how do they stay spiritually connected?
So for them, especially, they have all these teen tantrums because they are unheard, because they feel rejected. So it's for parents as well, that they have to keep a very close look on the behavior of their teens, because what happens that from the innocent childhood and by getting all these conditioning over the years. So from 5, when you turn 15, you have already 10 years of conditioning with you.
Yes.
And then you want to explore the world from those conditioning, or the conditioning coming from outside your family, which is your friends and stuff. Because when you are a child, till 5 or 6 or 7, you're not allowed to go outside without your parents' supervision.
Right.
They're always there. But when you are in high school, or when you are into your teen, you go out for your night outs, your friend's birthday alone, and everything. So you get the social conditioning as well. So that is the time when the parents needs to become friends of their children. So being friend does not mean that you have to lose the control over them, and it does not mean that you have to be super controlling as well. I'm not a parenting coach, but I this is what I have experienced, and this is what I share with people when they ask me, that you really have the control as a parent on them, but you have to be free and open with them as a friend, where they do not where they do not hesitate to share what are they feeling. So this is what, over a period of time, obviously I was also a close teen when I was younger, or maybe 7 8 years ago. But now in this time, in this moment, no matter what happens, me and my mother, we share a different sort of bond. We share everything, whatever happens. So even if I like someone, if I like a boy, we'll make fun together about that boy,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe we'll laugh together with it. And earlier, I was hesitant to share, and she was reluctant to listen, because I was radiating that energy of not sharing. So, as a parent, we need to become more open towards listening to them, because all these teen tantrum comes because of the rejection, or they feel that they are being misunderstood.
Yeah, Coach Kumar, I just wanted to share two stories that I think you'll get a kick out of everything. But one is a story about my dad, their granddad. But my nephews, when they were very young, like I said, they're 10 and 11. They'll be 11 and 12 next month in August. But when they were young, like babies, like 1 or 2 years old, my dad, who's very much into nature, like I am, and very much into art, he was literally taking them out and showing them things around nature. And some people were like, still looking at him like, those kids, their brains haven't developed. They don't understand what you're showing them. And my dad was like, no, you don't understand the way the brain works and the way that we do teaching and the way that I've been engaged in teaching. So he actually was very much encouraging them to learn at a very young age. So I just thought that was amazing that he did that some 10 or 11 years ago when they were basically infants almost. And he was just showing them a lot of stuff, even at that very young age of, like I'd say, around 1 or 2 years old. So I just thought that was really great. And then the story I was going to show you is actually involved my nephew. And this was probably 6 years ago. He was playing soccer. They still do youth soccer and they do youth football. But I remember him playing soccer, and I remember they were playing a game, and they actually were doing very well. I mean, they're pretty good at the game. They are good scorers and good defense people and all the other traits that you're supposed to have in soccer. So they were doing really good. And then all of a sudden, there was like a major temper tantrum. So my nephew was having a major temper tantrum. I think I was at the game. Their grandparents, meaning both my mama and my dad, were there, as well as some other relatives that were there. We were all looking at my young nephew, and we're like, "Your team won. You did good. You won. Why are you having a temper tantrum? Like, what is going on? Why are you having a fit?" And it took him a minute because he had to calm down from the temper tantrum. And he was like, I hate to tell y'all this, but I didn't want the game to end. So that's why he was having the temper tantrum, because he still wanted to continue to play. Coming back to the whole kid thing, he was like, I don't want the game to end. I want to keep playing. And so that's why he was having the temper tantrum. And we're all like thinking, did he hurt himself? Did something go on? Did somebody run into him? Why are you having this temper tantrum? But his whole answer was like, I still want to play. So he didn't want to end the game.
And I think something that we're talking about here is something that's kind of funny. Didn't want to, is that it's the foundation of what we are teaching our children, right? And it's also giving them the room to grow. And I love your analogy, Anandmai, about why are they having so many temper tantrums, and it's because they're not being heard, they're not being accepted. And from the moment a baby is born, they have that feeling of infinite love, right? Love at first sight when a baby's born. from their first breath, they have parents breathing on them, hugging them, loving them. And then all of a sudden that kind of disproportionate goes away. And I think our whole lives, we continue seeking that feeling, right? Our whole lives, we want to feel that moment that we felt the moment we were born. And they lose that as teens, because by the time they become teens, like we spend majority of their baby life teaching them how to talk, and then the minute they learn how to talk and they're talking too much, we tell them to shut up. Maybe not that blunt, and then they become these growing up with new ideas that we really don't want to hear, or we know won't go anywhere because we've already tried them, and we're not very eloquent about explaining to them. We're adults, parents, and we might tell them, and not every parent's that way. We all try to be the good parents, but I think you're right. I think that they want to be heard. They not only want to be heard, like you said, they want what they say to be accepted.
No,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm sorry, that's one of the things that I agree with, and then I do want to hear from Coach Kumar, is that's one of the things that I kind of agree with what happened with even Black Lives Matters. I've got some friends that are in my age range, 50s and 60s, but I think that this is one of the more youth-led, at least here in the South, and I think even nationally, youth-led kind of movement. So I think that this is one of the few times we're actually seeing the kids, and by kids I mean teenagers and young adults, actually sharing their views and their attitudes. And I don't know that I've ever seen anything this youth-led since the 60s and the 70s. And I was a kid myself at that time, and my parents were young people. So I was like probably pre-teens in the 60s and 70s. So that's but I can't think of another youth-led movement as much as this one has been.
I think we're just seeing a bigger movement because there's so much change going on right now. And but I think that there have been movements, significant ones in my lifetime that I have seen that occurred in the 80s. But I think maybe, Mark, you and I and some of us were too preoccupied with our own careers to really pay attention to them. But I recall some significant heavy protesting movements, people actually being killed in the protest, and it got way out of hand. And I just think people did not want to relive that kind of protest again. And I'm kind of glad. Not that I paid much attention to it because I was way too busy working. I worked 24/7 to keep networks up. And, we didn't have the news feed like we have today, right? So to keep up with it, I would have to stop my work. But I heard some, but I think today, the reason why we're so aware of it, maybe the reason why the movements are so big, is the means to communicate it. Because I see in my text feeds all the time, hey, we're going to show up here and we're going to have a march here. Hey, the Lumbees are arresting anybody who marches. And I'm like, seriously? The Lumbees, the Native American Indians, right? Which, if I bring up the Native American Indians, I'm going to tell everyone the reason why I'm not too thrilled about America is when the people came over here, the way they took it away from the Indians. And if you want to talk about who's at the bottom of the barrel of being treated right in any way, it is the Native American Indians. They get nothing. And
very little at all.
Oh,
they don't get anything. You might think that a casino was something to give to them, but I'm going to tell you guys that it was done intentionally because they knew that they would destroy their lives with
You're breaking up
from the
again.
casinos. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
There's nothing but drinking and gambling there, and that's what you're going to give people of poverty with no education.
No, it's crazy. But we were talking about
because I'm hitting a nerve.
And good parents were supposed to be able to listen. And Lynn, I was thinking, I bet you were a good listener as a parent. Sorry, I put you on the spot.
To the extent that I was around, I traveled so much when my kids were young, and I did listen, but unfortunately, like Kimberly was saying, I was so busy working. Oftentimes, I would come in the door it was around dinner time, and my wife learned very quickly not to start dinner, because there was a fellow I did business with in San Diego who had an uncanny ability to be able to know exactly when I walked in the door, and the phone would ring, and I would go up to my office and spend another hour on the phone with him. So my wife knew that after the first couple of dinners that everybody had without me, that she would make food late. But here's one thing that we did do, and this was very important, because actually it was interesting. When my wife grew up, she had an older sister, and so first of all, my father-in-law would talk about his day, then my mother-in-law would talk about her day, then my sister-in-law would talk about her day, and then, it's time, we're finished dinner, we got to get up and we got to go do the dishes. So Judy, you go do the dishes, okay? So my wife never got a chance to really talk about what she had done during the day.
Hey, Lynn, and I want to get back to you on business-wise, because I know that we got to talk about your business, but I do have a question for you related to what you just said, and it's actually for Coach Kumar and everything. Don't you think that that's something that, as a world society, we've gotten away from? Because I know that definitely in India, y'all are still very much close to your families. Oftentimes, grandparents and parents and everybody else are still there. But I think that I do remember that. I remember even going to my grandmother's house. I lived in a rural North Carolina town. My grandmother wasn't that far away, and I remember going there and having some great dinners. I wish I'd done more of them, but I do remember going to having dinners and having like the family and everything. Jim, you'll get a kick out of this, but I don't want to hear Coach Kamar's answer. I remember there was like a little phone, the old style phone, and there was like a little doghouse that you could buy from like a dollar store, and they have little dogs, and it represented each of us as cousins. So if you were a bad kid, you got put in the doghouse. So like I said, I remember my brother got put in there. I was actually fairly good, so I stayed out of the doghouse. But I do remember there was like a little symbol. So I think it was roughly 11 of us cousins or thereabouts. So some cousins were more apt to go into the doghouse than others. But Coach Kumar, do you think that we need to do more on communications?
So let me just finish before Coach Kumar responds. We determined very, very early on, when I was there, that we would be a family. We wanted to hear what the kids did, so our daughter and our son, because that was more important. They could hear a little bit about what I did. And in fact, I used to, when I went to Florida, I would go to Miami a bit, and the kids would ask me, "Well, Dad, where did you go?" And I'd say, "Well, I went to Miami." And then they'd say, "Oh, you went to Urami." They were pretty young.
Yeah.
And then I dealt with lawyers so much. Somebody asked my daughter what I did. "Oh, Daddy's a lawyer." One of the last things I'd want to be, but that's beside the point. But we talked. We let them talk about what they did and what was important to them. And I think that was very important. And even today, we do family Zooms. And as maybe Jim, you've heard, and I think Mark's heard, my son and three of my grandsons live in Apex, North Carolina, which is right outside of Raleigh. And my daughter and daughter-in-law fell for the second time on her bike and broke her right wrist today.
Oh no!
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! So we think we're going to go up, I know, and take the and take the bike away from her now. But anyway, but we get on family Zooms, and the first thing we do is we want to make sure that we hear from the youngest, who's 14, and then the next youngest, who's 16, to see what they are doing. Okay. The two older ones, one's going to be a senior in college and one's already out of college. So they're not afraid to participate, and they do. But we want to hear from the younger ones, to hear what everybody is doing. And I think I see a lot of families, and the kids eat by themselves.
Yep.
The parents eat by themselves, and there is no family participation. So,
Right.
so I don't know. I got on late, so I didn't hear Coach Kumar talk about what she was talking about. But I presume this is something that you deal with all the time, right? Families not participating.
Well, it was more about remembering the child within ourselves, but then
Right.
we got then we got on to how
Uh,
do parents relate to their children and the
happens,
teenage angst, and so we got onto everything.
happens to me all the time. Like,
No, no problem. But like I said, I was curious to hear her thoughts on whether we need to maybe borrow a little bit from that Indian culture and have more of that interaction with the families and things of that nature. Because I do think that some, particularly in the West, we don't do that enough because we got so helter skelter and spread out. I mean, I got cousins in Charlotte, cousins in Atlanta. Because one cousin is in Dubai right now because Saudi Arabia. He's in Saudi Arabia because he's doing some military. He retired from the military, so he's doing civilian consulting. So he's all the way in Saudi Arabia. So I do have cousins spread out. So I do know that sometimes it's harder to do. But when we get together, how do you feel? Should we do more of that kind of like bonding together? And I agree with you, Lynn, that we definitely need to hear the voice of the kids as well, and highlight the voice of the kids.
I want to.
Yeah. So, Mark, for
About this, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So IBM TV has a teen show. They have been working on it. I think I introduced you guys to Artie and Kieran. Artie is a 14-year-old girl who approached us about doing some internship work with us. Kieran is an 18-year-old young man who does all kinds of filming and wanted to do some things before he went into college. And so we convinced them to just start their own teen show. And they are working on it. We have meetings with them now once a week to talk about it. We hope to launch the first one in a couple of weeks. And what's interesting is I think Henning's going to be one of their guests to talk about the teen movie. But the teen voices are very important, and that's something that we're giving them full reign. Mm-hmm. They are complete producers and directors of the message that they're trying to reach out about, inspiring the positive thinking, what do you think about COVID? It's going to be the teen voices. And I think it's going to take TV to the next level because we have not seen anything like this in a very long time. And so I'm real proud of what these two young people, literally, that you have no idea the work they're putting into this and the imagination and creativeness to make it inspiring for teens. So,
but Kimberly, we really got to hear from Coach Kumar about how the families need to get together more, because I interacted with her before, and so it's your time now.
Let's learn, because she lives in a tight family environment. Definitely share with us, Coach, what you think about the important aspects, but how we can encourage it more during this time.
Yeah, so as we were talking about teens, so this is a very beautiful phrase which I just remembered, was that in the teen age, we are physically independent, not emotionally independent. So we need that emotional support from our family and to become more emotionally independent. And in these times, and as Mark was also saying, I moved out of my grandparents' house when I was 4 because my dad worked in a different city and we had to relocate there. But whenever we were together, and especially during some festivals of Holi, Diwali, and there's a Chhat Puja also. So that time we have all those cousins and we were like 30, 35 people, just the family members, the first cousins and the family member at that one place. And today what happens is like all of us are scattered, like grandparents have passed away and the cousins are in different cities and stuff. But when it comes to talk or be in touch, the intention matters, that okay, we have to stay in touch no matter what happens. We have WhatsApp, we have all these online things, and especially in these times, even if you don't call them but just send a message, hey, how are you doing, I'm there for you. So there's a case that one of my cousin and his wife, they were COVID positive, about now they're negative. So I did not call them in the entire 15 days of their quarantine and their treatment. I just messaged them that how are you doing and all of that. and that made a huge difference in their lives and my life as well, that I was updated about them. And the connection we feel, the bond we make at these times are much more important than the bonds we make ever. So it's very important, and we should encourage it. In India also, Mark, you were saying that we stayed in a very a compact family where we have a lot of people around us. But now that culture is fading away. Now it's very nuclear family type of thing. That's mom, dad, and one kid maybe. I was blessed to have sibling and cousins and all of that, grandparents and everyone. But now when I see there's just two working parents and a child. So think about that child, that what sort of traumas the child must be going at this moment of time. So families are and friends are very much important, and to stay connected with them is the need of the hour, I would say.
No, and I agree and think that that is beautifully said. Um, keeping that connectivity for teens is very important. And I missed the story about the young one, I guess, getting injured on a bike.
That was
Sorry to hear that.
Lynn was talking about that. His young one got injured on a bike and everything, so he was sharing that with us how they got injured. I actually got a question for Lynn real quick as well, but yes, I agree with you. And just to let you know, I think that I was actually hesitant today early, and I'm gonna tell you why I was hesitant. There's another radio station that I'm involved with. It's a low power radio station, and we were having a meeting with our different committees, kind of like we do with Kim when we have our IBM meetings. And we were having a meeting, and we actually put a teenager, a teenager, young man, he's probably in his early 20s, in charge of our committee of special events. And I was actually, when the person in kind of like the lead person appointed him in that job, I was a little hesitant because I was thinking to myself, he's young, he's kind of naive, he doesn't really have that experience. But then I had to like put that stereotype away from myself, and I was like, wait a minute, he's actually involved in these things, he's actually involved in youth activities. He's going to give a whole nother perspective to what they're trying to do in the small town of Carborough, because it's in the town of Carborough, which is near Chapel Hill. But I was like, I just had to put those down from where my stereotypes were, because I was sitting there going like, wait a minute, he has no experience. And everybody volunteered to help him, just like we volunteered to help our teams and everything. They volunteered to coach them and help them along in the path. But I did have to put some brakes on myself, because sometimes we do have a habit of not putting brakes on ourselves. So I did have to do that. My question for you, Lynn, and this is coming back to the store, is I'm a big fan. I don't have any right now, but are we going to get some candles or some lights or some other things so that we can have those in the store? Because, we need those in the store if we don't have them. So I need candles and I need some meditation items in the store. And I haven't gone through all the store items, but do we have candles yet?
Yeah, they have candles. If you go under household, they have candles and some lights and flashlights too. But they do have candles. I recall, unless they're sold out because of a lot of things going on right now. But
Kimberly, we have with 4,300 items. I think the candles are 4,126. Mark hasn't gotten that far yet, so he hasn't found them. But when he gets to 4,126, he'll get to the candles. So
there you go.
I got to get to the candles and the incense and some of the things that are more meditative.
They have incense. I do know they have incense. I saw those.
Okay.
When I was shopping around. One of the things I do want to share with you guys that with those of you who got your Minion napkins, what I think is very funny is on the back. Look at the back. So it's covered up with a sticker. Yeah. But look at the added fun that you get on the back side. What a great artist to make these so fun is that you have the front and it's covered up by the label in the back, right?
I'm trying to get my wife to help me with that.
But
I'm tearing it now.
There you go. I had to open mine. I always open mine from the side so I can pull them out and neat and organized. And then I have a napkin holder that I put my napkins in, especially the fun ones. But now I don't know which side to use.
Now that's going to be a serious
problem,
to use.
So
I And the other thing I need from you is we need more cookies because the cookies disappear really fast. I'm almost done with the cookies that you sent me, so I need a big bulk. We need big bulk boxes.
Order multiple quantities. Then you get the bulk packages. See, there you go. You can do that.
There you go. And you know what's interesting? Like when I do, I go get my ice cream now. I get it by the case at the brick and mortar store because the guy told me, he goes, you know, you come in here, you just order it by the case. We'll have them for you. And so I go and I order and I get my big case, and I don't have to go as often. And because I felt bad if I took the whole thing anyway, right? So now they keep a whole case for me, and I come and get my case. But all you have to do is ask sometimes. But I didn't even have to ask. I show up so much that. But I'm loving my back of my napkins.
I can't get the sticker off, Kimberly. I'm making a mess of it.
Right, I do. That's why I opened my napkins. But you know, Coach, just to answer your call about keeping the youth in us, this keeps the youth in me.
There you go.
So,
and Coach Kumar, I just saw on the chat that you've got to leave shortly. So, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with us before you bounce off? Because I did see that you had communicated with Ankit that you have to bounce off shortly.
Yeah, so